Okay guys, I just want to run through the basics of night fishing for beginners really. So if you're a seasoned hardcore carp angler, it's not the video for you. But if you're just starting out, you may get a few pointers from this video. So I'll give you a few tips. I'll leave the most important tip to the end. And yeah, hopefully it'll help you if you're starting out. When you're night fishing for the first time, try and get to the lake in plenty of time before it gets dark. Setting up in the dark is quite tricky, and that's when you may lose things, drop things on the floor, may not be able to find them, hooks or whatever. And yeah, so much easier setting up in the daytime. Get everything ship shape before it gets dark. Keep it all nice and tidy. Like I say, put everything away, nice and safe. You're not going to trip over anything. You're not going to lose anything. Get down in plenty of time, find your spots, get your bait out, get your rigs out, and yeah, happy fishing. So you get to your swim, and then you put your gear down. You want to get your bivvy up, you want to get your rods out as soon as possible. But hopefully a little bit of a pointer what to do. Now, in the daytime, when you go day fishing, obviously you want to get your rods out as soon as possible, and you can have stuff littered around on the floor. Not a problem. You can see it in the daytime and you can step over it or step around it. When it comes to night fishing, as soon as it starts getting dark, anything on the floor, so you're going to trip you over or you're going to step on it and break it. So think about your swim and now you're going to position things. So for example, I've got my bivvy over to the left of the swim, nice and close to the rods. Now it's positioned in a way that's not going to impede my casting, so don't have your bivvy right behind the rods where you're going to be casting, otherwise when you go and cast, the hook's going to catch up in your bivvy and you're going to rip a hole in the bivvy, or you're going to crack off. So think about where the bivvy is, try and get it as close to the rods as possible, but like I say, without causing any problems with your casting. I've got a little sort of landing station over here. I've got my mat, my sling, bucket of water, and my landing net all over to one side. So what you'll see is from the bivvy to the rods, there's nothing in the way. So in the night, if one of those was to go off and you're panicking, you come running out, you're not going to trip over anything, straight to the rods, and away we go. And then the landing net's just to the side, the other side of the rods, so I don't step on that when I come running out. So it's ready when I need it, but it's not in the way. Think about the swim. Have a look around. Is there any snags that you might need to contend with? So I've got some small branches left and right. The right hand side is quite a nasty snag down there. So think about that in the dark. You might not see it. And if the fish kite's underneath there, what you're going to do, you need to hold the rod as low as possible to get the line hopefully underneath the branches and try and get the fish back. But think about these things while it's light, and because in the darkness you may not see it. Likewise, have a look at the trees behind you and make sure you've got a nice bit of space to cast out. Again, in the daytime may not be an issue. You might be able to lean over, you might be able to crouch down and flick your bait out with the trees above you. But when it comes to night time, it's not so easy to see exactly what's going on. So try and make sure you know where the trees are behind you and above you, so when you cast out, it's not a problem. When it's light like this, casting's not a problem. I can cast to the bushes over there, to the dead tree, and I've actually got bait over there at the moment, or you can cast to the yellow bush over there. You can see exactly what's going on. You can see exactly where you're going to cast. Now, when it comes to the night time, you're not going to see little details like that. What you will see is like that little tree sticking up, or that V there, or that V there, or that tree sticking up there. Now, if you can find a spot on the line with a feature like that in the skyline, that's great. So all you got to do is find the spot on that line, clip it up, and you can bait to it, cast to it, whatever. Now when it gets dark, that skyline will be a silhouette. You'll still see the trees and the dips in the trees. And so when it comes, if you need to cast out, you can sort of aim for that tree there on the clip, and it's in exactly the right place. So that's a good tip for casting in the night time. Another tip, try and keep the bivvy tidy. I mean, I've only got a little bivvy here, and it's quite crammed with bits and pieces, but everything has got its place in here. I've got my bivvy table here, I've got some rig bits underneath, cord box at the back, holdall, cameras under the bed chair, tackle boxes, got my rucksack under the end of the bed chair, got a rubbish bag here which will go outside in a minute, and I'll explain why in a minute. And I've got my bait buckets there and my water here. Now I know exactly where everything is in this bivvy, so if I want to get a lead, or I want to get some crisps, or I want to get some socks, or I want to get my bait, I know exactly where it's going to be. And it's the same layout I use every single time I go fishing. And if I'm in a swim and I want the bed the other way around, I basically just flip it all around, so it's exactly the same but a mirror image version of it. So that way it's nice and tidy. I ain't going to lose anything, I ain't going to break anything by stepping on it, and I know where everything is. I see so many people when they start carp fishing set the bivvy up and they have bits and pieces all over the place, and yeah, it's unavoidable sometimes. You do make a mess when you're setting up and tying your rigs and what have you, but once you've done it, tidy it all away, note in your mind where everything is, that way you can find it and nothing get broken. Bait, keep the bait in bait buckets or in air dry bags in the trees. I keep mine in a bait bucket. Don't just leave it in the plastic bag it comes in the shop. If you leave that in the bivvy, then what'll happen, the furry critters will come in the night, they'll get in the bivvy, chew the bag up, start chewing the boilies and make a mess. So, but not only is that eating the bait that costs you money, it's made a mess. They may even bite a hole in the bivvy to get in there, to get to it. They may bite a hole in any bags, canvas bags, so they could ruin your gear. So don't leave food around. Same with the bin bag that I mentioned earlier, it's in there just for convenience while I'm working and eating overnight. I'll hang it in a tree up off the ground, so that, again, so any furry critters just can't get to it, and try and not encourage them into your swim. The other thing you're going to need for night fishing, essential, is a stove. I've got quite a nice one here, I think it's a tracker one. It's fairly expensive, but you can get the ones from your local supermarket or your local Argos or whatever, where you've got the, you know, the blue ones where you put a gas canister in. Do the job just the same. I like this because it's smaller and it packs away better, and I think the gas is a bit better on these ones, to be fair. It does burn better in the winter, but you know, if you're on a budget, £10 jobby is perfect. But be careful with your stove. I mean, I've got mine quite close to the bivvy edge, so be careful when you're lighting it, you don't get any big flames going up and burning the bivvy. So be careful where you put the stove. Don't want it too close to the edge, because when you light them sometimes they puff up and you don't want your bivvy, like I say, going up in flames. I do recommend when you're starting night fishing to do your cooking and boiling the kettle outside until you get used to the stove. But if you do use it in the bivvy, always make sure the doors and any vents you got are open. And don't, however much you're tempted, use a stove as a heater in the winter or when you're cold and have the door down and think, well, I'm going to warm myself up. That is going to possibly kill you with carbon monoxide poisoning. It does happen, you hear about it all the time. People just put the heater on in the bivvy or in their tent and they don't wake up again. So don't let that be you. Be careful with your stoves, and yeah, be safe. Okay, bed chair. Now this is quite a basic bed chair, nice and light and small, fits in the small bivvy very well. Most bed chairs you buy these days got extendable legs to keep it level. Some have the extra leg at the top end so it doesn't tip up. So what I would advise is to try a bed in the shop. Sometimes they sag and you can hit your back on these bits here, which is uncomfortable, so make sure that's not happening if you go and buy a bed chair. And make sure the legs are long enough. The only disadvantage of this particular bed chair is the legs are actually quite short, so if I'm on an uneven pitch, then these only go out so far, and I'm quite limited to keep the bed chair level. So something to consider, how far do these legs extend, to make sure when you're on an uneven ground you can keep the bed chair level. So I didn't think about that when I bought this chair, but it's something I'll consider when I get my next one. Spare clothes. In the summer, it's not such a problem. I mean, you need your shorts and t-shirts for the daytime and your joggers and hoodies for the evening, and maybe a woolly hat if you want. But in the winter, it's a different ball game. I mean, if you're going in conditions, well, even in the summer, if you're going in conditions when it's going to be very stormy and wet, take plenty of spares. Because believe you me, when those buzzers go overnight, you'll go running out in whatever you're wearing, and you could play a fish for 20 minutes, get it in, and by the time that's happened, you could be soaked to the skin. So those clothes ain't going to be no good for nothing. So you want to be able to replace those, get a dry set of clothes on, and then before you get back in the bag. So yeah, keep nice and dry, keep warm. Spare set of clothes in the winter or in stormy weather, it's essential. Obviously, it goes without saying, you got your waterproof coats or trousers. If you know it's going to be stormy, take those with you. Hopefully you won't need them, but always better to be prepared. But nothing worse than getting soaked and not having a change of clothes. Another night fishing tip is to get a pair of shoes or boots or something that you can slip into quickly. When your buzzer's going off of a night and you're panicking to get out, you got out your sleeping bag, you get up. Now you're either going to run to the rods in your bare feet or socks and get wet feet possibly, or you're going to want to put your boots on or your shoes or whatever. Now what I use are these. Not exactly the height of fashion, not a fashion statement indeed, but in the night you get up, what do you do? Slide your feet in and get on the rods. Easy peasy. Another tip, head torch. Years ago just used torches, but then head torches became the vogue. So much easier, you can put it on your head, hands are free to tie rigs and what have you. And if you're playing fish, you can see what's going on in the margins, and for unhooking and for weighing. So head torch, invaluable. Now I've just got this cheap ever ready one, which I've had for over 10 years, and it's still going strong. You can get them for a few quid in your local supermarket, or you can get something like this for about a tenner, or you can buy really expensive ones for 30-40 quid. Now all I'm saying to you is, this is good enough for me. If you gave me one for 30-40 quid, maybe I'd use it, but I'm not going to go out and buy one. I've got better things to spend my money on. But yeah, so head torch, invaluable for night fishing. Another great bit of kit for night fishing is this bad boy, called a rhino beam. So you've been fishing all night, and you catch a fish, you want to get a photo of it, don't you? So what's this? This is basically a bright torch with a slider on the side, and yeah, you point at the fish, put it on a tripod or on a bank stick, and point it at the fish when you catch it, and you can get your pictures done. hey presto, it's got a white lens and an orange lens. I tend to use the orange lens for some reason, but yeah, you can switch those over and make it as bright or as dim as you like. Yeah, it makes taking your pictures of your catches in the night a breeze. And here it is, the final tip, the best tip for beginners for night fishing, and it's the sleeping bag. Try and invest in the best sleeping bag you can afford. This is mine. I don't actually know what make it is, I've had it some years, but it's still going strong. Now the good thing about this sleeping bag is I've got this layer here, which in the winter I can get underneath it, or in the summer I can sleep on top of it, and then that's the main cover of the sleeping bag. And it zips obviously all the way along, and you're nice and cosy. Thing to consider with a sleeping bag: make sure the zips are good. Make sure you've got good, they call it a crash zip, where if in the middle of the night you don't have to actually hold the zip, you just pull the bag open and the zip undoes itself without catching. This is a 5-season bag. It's got like a little bit there to keep the cold out on the zip. Like I say, it's got this cover, and it's got some little ties like this, which you tie to the bed chair, so that if in the night you do get a bite, so you tie those to the bed chair, then if you do get a bite in the night and you come running out, even though the zip opens, I've had it before I tied it down, and the sleeping bag may get trapped around your foot or something, and you drag it out in the rain. This is a 5-season bag, and I use it pretty much all year round unless it's really, really hot. But bear in mind, even in the summer, the nights can get really cold. You know, it feels like it's freezing in the summer some nights. So you want to be nice and warm. Nothing worse than being cold. So a good bag. You want one that you can go to sleep in whatever time of year it is. You know, you want to be able to, not that I'm saying you should, you wanted to be able to just sleep in your underwear and be warm. I tend to sleep in joggers, a hoodie, some nice socks, and maybe a woolly hat, and my head sticking out the top of the sleeping bag. So that's the biggest tip I've got for you. Get a good sleeping bag, one that's going to keep you warm all year round, nice and comfy. Your fishing's going to be so much more enjoyable. So there you go guys, that's all my tips. Hope they help you. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. And like I say, good luck, and I hope this has helped.